Welcome to ThePath Unfiltered, where the world of pro athletes collides with personal growth, life's toughest transitions, and the story that no one else is telling. I'm your host, Gabe, a former Division I athlete turned real estate entrepreneur. On this podcast, we bring you unfiltered conversations with athletes, industry leaders, and trailblazers. From the triumphs to the setbacks, we dive deep into the moments that define their journeys. Whether they're at the peak of their careers or still figuring out what comes next, no topic is off limits, and we're not afraid to tackle the controversial, the raw, and the real. Real topics, real stories, no filters. Let's get started. So this is ThePath Unfiltered. I'm super excited to have this guest with us here today. It's Jonathan Rosales. So Jonathan is the founder of NLT Soccer based in Orlando, Florida. He's a former captain of the University of South Florida men's soccer team and player for Orlando City B. Jonathan brings a wealth of experience from both the collegiate and professional level. He also represented El Salvador's U23 team in the Olympic qualifiers, gaining invaluable international experience. So in 2021, he founded what's called the NLT Soccer program. It's a player development program where his goal is to share his passion for the game and develop well-rounded players. Over the past 3 years, he's dedicated himself to fostering not only technical and physical skills, but also leadership, teamwork, and determination in his players. Welcome to ThePath Unfiltered, bro.
Thank you, bro. Thank you guys for having me, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Bro, I'm excited to have you on. Like we were talking off set,
Yeah.
Your experience, I feel like you overlook it a bit. It's super, you have a lot of insight and value you can share with the audience. A lot of what you're doing now with your transition from being in the pros to working with business now, I think it's super important. I'm excited for you to highlight and talk a lot about that.
Yeah. Of course, man. Thank you for having me, brother.
Thank
you for having me, brother.
For sure. So, bro, tell us a little bit more of who you are, where you grew up, things like that, and how you first got introduced to the game.
Yeah. So I grew up in Rhode Island. Which is up north. My family's from El Salvador. Obviously, the biggest sport over there is soccer. So soccer runs in the blood. Moved down here to Orlando when I was 10. And then when I got here, I started, continuing with organized sports and kind of been through the full ranks of everything, so academy, club level, collegiate, and everything. So it's been a full experience, brother.
I'm excited for you to share your journey through the academy system as well, because things are changing now, right? The youth level in the United States, which is super controversial, but we'll talk about it. You've been there, done that. I'm excited for you to share about it. You had mentioned you didn't even like playing growing up.
Yeah. So when I was little, it's funny that you said that. When I was little, I used to cry. I used to cry to play. So like my dad's like a little bit of one of those parents, where it's like, hey, you got to do this, this, So he would force me, man, and I would cry before the game. I would cry during the game. I would cry after the game.
Are you happy he forced you?
Yeah, man, because no, seriously, it was something that I grew a big passion for, right?
Yeah.
I grew a big passion for, and to be fair, it's given me my values in my life, right? It's given me much more than I would have ever thought, much more than I would have ever thought. So, but yeah, that's how it all started off, and then I ended up falling in love with it, and then thankfully I've been able to now basically live off of the game, and the game has given me, like I had just said, more than just on the field stuff,
Right. So you came from Rhode Island into Orlando.
Yep.
So did you go directly into the Orlando City Academy, or what was that like? Did you have to try out? What was that experience like?
So when I got here, I got into the youth clubs around here.
Okay.
And then I was playing youth soccer here with the regular local clubs for about 3-4 years.
Okay.
And then through all that process, I took a jump into, I guess you can say, a more of an elite team.
Yeah.
In essence, right? And then I met up with the coach there. He's the one that recruited me to that elite team.
Was that intentional? Did you know you had to level up with teams? Did you know your team that you were at wasn't the highest level? What was that like? Because someone, I am also a first generation American, been in the United States, but growing up playing in these youth levels and systems, it's hard to know.
Sure.
Am I on a good team? Am I going to get seen? So how did you know that? Did somebody guide you, or you had to figure it out?
Well, to be fair, you kind of start to notice when you see like the better players of the local clubs, when you see them start to take that next step,
Gotcha.
So like for good examples, I had a lot of friends that played on the local clubs and stuff like that. And then after about 3 years, they're not there anymore. They're playing either at just in Florida, like they're playing at a Florida Rush. They're playing now at FKK. I played at a smaller club.
Right.
So then that's when you kind of start to notice, okay, like if I want to get better, if I want to get more exposure, you need to play against the cream of the crop. You got to play against the best players.
Yeah.
So that's when you kind of start to either get recruited by a coach, or you kind of go and say, hey, knock on some doors, right? Can I try out? Can I have a trial here?
So you were knocking on those doors?
Well, thankfully, Thankfully everything on the field was very good.
Yeah.
So I had a coach that reached out to me. He's like, hey, you shouldn't be playing here anymore. It's time for you to take this next step.
Right.
I took that next step, and that's the step that kind of led me into the academy.
Bro, so you balled out in the youth academy for
Correct.
Orlando. What was it like playing for Orlando? Were talks of like you seen guys sign homegrown contracts? Was that the goal for every player playing?
Man, I mean, I would assume so, right? I would assume so, but yes, man. Especially when you're so close, right? With the academy, you're so close to the first team players. You're in the same facility,
Right. So you see all the pros.
You wear the crest, right? You wear the crest.
Right.
You train basically on the same fields or
Yeah.
right next to those fields. Everything there. You see the stadium. You go to some of the games. Man, it's an inspiration. You want to sign homegrown for the club. It's a different feeling. It's a different feeling.
And when you were there, was that when Kaká was there?
Yeah. So when I got into the academy, it was his first year, man. So it was super cool.
Yeah.
That's when Orlando just got into the MLS. So we were able to be a part of that whole process. We went to the first Orlando MLS game.
That's
all of that stuff. So it gave you a little bit more of a drive, to be fair. It gave you more of a drive when you wanted to play.
Did you ever interact with any of those first team players like Kaká? Did you ever train with them? What
Yeah,
was that like?
So that was one of the beautiful things about the academy as well, right? Is that they give you those opportunities, especially when you're excelling. When you're excelling. So multiple times we got chances to train. We even did a couple scrimmages every once in a while.
Right.
And when I was at USF, when I was in college, I would come back during the summers and I would train with the first team, or I would train with the USL team at the time. So it was always a sick experience. It was nice because they treated you well, and you were able to kind of be in the realm.
Right.
Be in the realm every year, no matter what. Even if you weren't in essence first team, you were still around it. So you learn from them, their demeanor, how they go about things, how they prepare themselves, all that stuff. That's a
big thing that I think a lot of youth players maybe miss. Maybe it's that preparation, like before, during, and after, right? It's not just I'm gonna show up to practice, I'm gonna ball out, do my best, and that's it. Nah, you're showing up an hour and a half early, maybe even earlier than that, prepping yourself physically, mentally. I think that's a really cool thing that a lot of players might miss sometimes if they want to play at the next level.
And honestly, man, if you're very aware of what's going on, it shows. It shows. Like you catch yourself either a little bit below those that are up in level, and you're wondering why. Where's that gap? Like what's going on? And then those is exactly that, the off the field stuff, the discipline, the way you eat, the way you sleep, all that good stuff.
So being exposed to that at a young age, that professional environment, you would say that's definitely kind of helped you propel yourself and carry yourself into kind of what you're doing now, right?
Oh yeah, brother. Yes. It's given me, I guess you can say, so much experience to give to the kids. Which I wish that at that age I was getting. Yeah, for sure. If someone would have told me, hey, if you do these things a little bit more, or you focus a little bit more on these little details, things will be a lot easier for you. Or you'll be able to kind of start to excel a little bit better.
Right. This episode is brought to you by SS Pools. Based out of Long Island, New York, SS Pools is a pool company that's been in business for over 20 plus years. The work is serviced by the owner himself, so you know the pool is going to be handled with quality and care. If you're interested in inquiring, send an email over to sspools@gmail.com and they'll get you taken care of. Mention the Path Podcast for a 25% discount for your first 2 months of service. I was going to say, real quick, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Your transition from Orlando City, the academy, and then you went straight to USF after that, right?
Straight to USF, correct. Yeah.
What was that like, the level wise? Was it a big difference? Was it less? Were you like, man, these kids?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Cats kind of suck.
No. I'm gonna be honest with you. One of the things that helped me the most prior to getting to USF was that I was exposed a lot to the USL level.
Gotcha.
At Orlando City.
Was there a big difference between the college level and the USL level?
I would say there wasn't a huge difference, right? I would say the biggest difference was the physicality of it.
College?
Of the USL.
Yeah, gotcha.
The physicality, the speed of the game was the biggest thing, right? Because you got to remember, I was about 16, 17 playing against 23, 24-year-olds, older guys. Right. That was the biggest difference. But in terms of quality, in terms of level, there wasn't too much of a difference for my personal opinion, So going into college, thankfully, I had those experiences prior to that, and I was able to adapt quickly. So my freshman year, I was able to play every game, right?
Yeah, you balled out, bro. I remember.
But I would say this, that if I didn't get that experience and I went straight from academy right into a D1 school, you get hit kind of hard in terms of speed of play, physicality, the little details, right? The little details of things. So it was a smooth transition for me, but I can see how if you aren't exposed to certain things at a younger age, it would be difficult.
Yeah, because you came in, you started every game, like you said, as a freshman, which is, I would say, rare for most people, right? But that's such a valuable piece of information that people come in and they get their fucking ass handed to them,
exactly,
right? Practice, preseason, all that.
And sorry to cut you off,
Yeah.
but that's another big thing is like the ego side, the mental side of things, right? Where you go into college,
Yeah.
and maybe you were the guy in academy.
Yeah.
You go into college, man, you're playing against a guy that's 22 years old, coming from a different country, who is the guy,
Right?
You know, who's about to sign that MLS contract,
right?
So then now you got to bring your ego down. You got to kind of see, okay, look, there's a different level to this,
right?
It's not just I'm the guy. Now I have to learn how to work about all of these little details that come with it, man. You know?
Yeah.
So it's for me, amazing experience, man. Amazing experience.
What would you say? What was the highest point of your career that you felt like, man, I'm fucking balling out?
Well, I mean, I would say it's funny that you say that. I would say the highest and then the lowest at the same time, but it would be right when I graduated college and I jumped into the professional level. Okay. I would say I was at the peak of my level.
Gotcha.
I was at the peak of my level. I felt
great,
good,
man.
Physically, mentally. I felt great on every aspect, you know. And then that's kind of where things took a different turn. And then it ended up being a sour experience, but.
Why was it sour though, right? Like you said highest and lowest, which is
so I guess the best way to go about it is you have this expectation or you work so hard for something and then you achieve it in a small capacity and it's nothing of what you thought it was. You know, so
what do you mean by that exactly? You had these what expectations do you have?
So like the way I looked at it and the way I thought about it was, man, I can't wait to be a pro.
Yeah.
I can't wait to sign my first professional contract because I thought that, you know, signing a professional contract was one of those things that would bring you much more joy than it would bring you a lot more joy than stress, you know, but it
brought you stress.
Yeah, because you see that when you get to that level, man, it's different. It's not the joy of the game, or it's not for the love of the game anymore.
Would you say it's strictly business?
Strictly business, man.
Is that the side that kind of hit you like shit? Like
it's the side that I wish I would have been a little bit more aware to prior to going in, just because you know how it is in college, right? You play for the school. You play is more passion.
Right.
Everything is more passion.
Yeah, I would say it's more like, even with teammates, maybe right at the professional level, you're there to get a job done.
Correct.
Whereas at maybe the collegiate level, right, it's much more camaraderie. It's more like, yo, let's have a good time.
You go into the professional level, you know, you have guys with families. You guys have you have guys that
it's people's livelihood on the line.
Livelihoods, exactly. So it's a little bit different. You know, the locker rooms may be a little bit colder.
Right.
You know, you may not get those same type of experiences player to player.
Right.
You know? But those are things that I wish I would have been mentally more prepared for going into that.
How does one mentally prepare for that though?
You know, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. No, it's tough because, like I had said, like you have this dream, right? You have this dream, and then when you achieve it, it's not what you thought it was. Yeah, you know, it's not what you thought it was.
What do you think would set apart somebody that's at that? Let's say they're at that academy level.
Yeah.
They're about to sign, like, let's say a homegrown contract or something like that. They're ready to go into that next level. What do you think sets apart somebody that's going to excel versus somebody that's just going to like be mediocre and maybe get by?
Mentality, brother.
Yeah?
Mentality, yeah.
Is it confidence though? Because that's a big fucking piece of
confidence,
football.
Mentality all put together, yeah. But it's mentality. It's you're going into it, like if you're a young player and you go into it knowing that it's a long game. And you're going into it knowing that, you know, it's going to be up and downs. Right. You know, and there's going to be times where I get tried a lot. Yeah. And I have to keep pushing. If you go in with that mentality, I think that you can succeed. Yeah. But if you go in with the mentality of like, you know, maybe I used to start every game and then I don't start that many games. And then now, you know, you're kind of taking it a little bit personal. You're kind of not really understanding why. Then you get into your head. Then now you're not performing because you're in your own head, you know? So all those little things come into it. And then for me, that's why I said mentality, man. Mentality is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Sure. You see that quite a bit, right? You see, I mean, you know, ballers that ball out in practice, right? When it comes game time, they kind of fold. I was one of them. But yeah, that's a big
it's a big thing,
piece
man.
of it, right?
It's a big piece of it, and that's what I preach to the kids, man. I preach that to the kids that I coach all the time, where it's like, it's the football inside. I tell them is the easy part. Yeah, is the easy part. Everything that you do with your feet is the easy part. You know, it's what's up here. Yeah, and it's how much you believe in what you're doing. You know? Those two things will drive you as much as you need it to. Yeah, and also, brother, the love for the game. Right, the love for the game, which I think is, if you lose a little bit of that love, it's tough. Right, because at the end of the day, anything you do, something that you do and you love it, you're gonna do it 100%, man.
How long was your journey with Orlando City B? I want to talk a little bit more about what that's like, the raw side of USL, where I would say you were one of the best college guys at your position, that level, and you signed that Orlando City B contract, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna ball out. This is what I'm gonna do. What was, I want to talk about the struggle too.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's a bit of a struggle, and then also to see where you're at now, it's awesome. But
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
a little bit more about Orlando City B, what that was like, the housing, salary wise, all those things. What was that like?
Well, yeah, it was a little bit difficult, honestly, just because I played that season during COVID. During the COVID season, so
That's
things were
strange,
very
yeah.
different, right?
Yeah,
Things were
yeah,
very
yeah.
different. For example, we didn't train for about 3 months.
Gotcha.
We didn't see any of the guys for about 3 months. Our season was condensed, so you had about 30, 40 games in a condensed season. So it was, I guess it was going to be a little bit different than other stuff, right?
Yeah.
But overall, it's a tough, it's a grind, man.
Bro, it's not
It's
easy.
a grind, and then USL League One is technically third tier, right?
Yeah.
Third tier, so it's not second tier. So
I mean,
it's,
it might change in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
bro. Shit's always changing.
it might
Always
change,
changing.
but it was tough. So like, for example, you're not making great money, right?
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
making a lot of money, so then you have to put that into consideration that you're getting the same demands as the guys making millions,
Right.
They're giving you the same demands, but you're now having to deal with maybe less resources.
Bro, that's the mental part of it. That
you're
could really fuck with you.
Yeah, man, you're dealing with less resources, right?
Right,
And
right,
then now
right.
you're also dealing with maybe, you're not playing at the highest quality that you would have liked to. So
Yeah.
then it goes back to what I said earlier, where it goes back to where you eat yourself up in your head due to all the exterior factors.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
wish, going back on it, that I would have eliminated those exterior factors, and I would have just focused on the footballing side of it.
Right,
you know?
right.
Because then you continue to excel. You continue to get better every day.
Bro, who is the nastiest player you've ever played with?
Nasty, like game
Like,
wise or just
sickest,
training
he's
wise.
just- Let's start training wise.
Training wise, I would have to say was thankfully when I was at Orlando City B, I went up to train a couple of times with the first team. Nani was.
Would he even try though? I feel like he just pulls up, does his thing, and like there's just a certain level.
I mean,
of respect,
I
maybe?
didn't see him on like a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah.
But there was a summer where I came down and I was training with him.
Yeah.
Prior to my senior year, and he was still here, and he was training now almost every day. And
that motherfucker's ripped.
yeah,
bro.
no, brother,
Yeah.
it's a different level, right? The guy is 3 steps ahead of you every time. He's a physical specimen as well.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
strong, very strong. Him and Kaká were probably the 2 best guys that I seen on the training, on the training pitch, man. Like Kaká was just gliding.
Yeah.
Like he would put his hand out and glide.
Bro,
Glide.
just super
Glide.
silky smooth,
Glide.
right?
Glide. Yeah. So those 2 guys were great.
Yeah.
Game wise, I would say I played with a guy at USF. His name was Lindo Menfeka.
Yeah.
And
Little
yeah.
Lindo.
Little Lindo, man. He just
Bro, talk about like a raw piece of talent.
Yeah,
bro.
for me, it was the first time that I saw someone kind of play without having like any type of thought
or restrictions, right? Like that dude would play so. Lindo, bro, I hope you see this, bro. Baller, bro.
Yeah,
Baller,
man,
baller,
he would
baller.
do some stuff that it was different. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
tell it was different. He would put some passes that you didn't see, or I never saw those passes. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at the same thing he was looking at.
Yeah.
you can tell he was playing at a different level.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was nice to see because then okay, there's still another level to this.
Bro, it was crazy. Lindo would pull up to practices, like just chilling. Just, we always talk about like show up early, leave late, but that's one of those guys, bro. And like some guys just have it, some guys don't.
Yeah.
He just pulls up to practice, balls out on all of us. I remember when I first got to USF, dribbled me like 3 times. I was like, man, what the fuck did I get into? Yeah, he's just that raw.
It's just pure talent, pure talent, and you have to respect it. You have to understand that those things aren't like that's not coachable.
Right.
That comes naturally. Man.
Yeah,
that comes
100%.
naturally. Man. So
Bro.
those 3 guys, I would say, have been phenomenal to see and just be around, man.
What was Nani and Kaká like? I mean, you mentioned you talking to them quite a bit. And
Yeah, so I mean,
interacting with
like
them.
I said, I was in the first team environment.
Humble guys?
Not so much, right? I wasn't in that environment so much, so I couldn't
Okay.
tell you how they were on an everyday basis,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But from the small times that I hung out with them, so I'll give you a good example. There was one time that we were having breakfast at the facility, like us academy guys.
Yeah.
This was when I came down during the summer.
Okay.
And Nani sat with us, bro.
Super
He sat with us, had breakfast, and
talking
and
to you guys.
talked to us normal, like if we were normal people, had breakfast, and then he
Yeah.
was like, he was the one that would tell us, hey, and go to the gym, like it's open for you guys.
Yeah.
Go do the prehab. Don't worry about if other people are in there. Go.
Bro, that's a lot of the side of the game, right? We grow up glorifying these players, right? Even at the academy level, the youth level, and then that transition into the pros. And now you're sharing a locker room, you're sharing a lunch table with Nani, Kaká, these guys, and you're like, oh my God. But part of it, that mental side of it, it's, I've been here before. I deserve this, right? I feel like that's a big piece that maybe a lot of players struggle with, right?
Yeah,
they're like,
of course.
they glorify the player when, they're just human like us.
Exactly.
And they're ballers, but no, I deserve to be here I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, but it's just crazy to see. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's crazy to see the difference in the environments, and for example, let's say in those top teams.
Yeah.
With the lower levels.
Yeah.
With the lower levels, the USLs, the USL ones, the USL championships. Like I've been around those locker rooms. Different environment, man. Different environment. The players are much more. You can tell it's a grind.
Yeah.
No one's there to make any friends. No one's there to be your friend. It's a grind.
It's lonely sometimes.
It's
right?
very lonely. It's very lonely. But being exposed to those MLS levels and those big guys, you can see that they've been through it. They've already passed it. So now they're just humble. Yeah. Everything is humble. Everything is, hey, if you need this, come, or we can talk about this. Like everything is very supportive in essence. You know what I mean?
Bro, so those guys at the top level, what I've noticed, they don't really have an ego. Obviously, you have your players that will have the ego.
Correct.
But when it comes to somebody grinding that's below and they see that, they kind of want to uplift those players, right?
Correct.
It's usually the fucking dickheads that are not at that level that think they're the shit, right?
Yeah, I hate that.
Everybody's got that. That's part of the game.
Yeah, and looking back on it, right? At the time, I never understood it because I was still young.
Yeah.
I was still 16, 17, 18. But looking back on it, now you understand maybe, they weren't making great money.
Right.
Maybe they had to provide for their family. Maybe they had kids already. Maybe they were married. Maybe they had this, and that. That's why they were so stressed. That's why they didn't say good morning to you. That's why they didn't make you feel welcome, because at the end of the day, I'm a young guy, but I'm there to take his contract, man. Right. You know what I mean? So he's not gonna let that happen. So as you get older, you start to realize why, right? But wish when I was younger, I understood all of this already.
Yeah.
Because then you go into it knowing what you're going into,
Right.
So it's a little bit different.
Bro, so I want to kind of transition into what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Biggest piece that I've noticed with professional players, any player in general, even at the collegiate level, when you graduate, you go into an identity crisis.
Oh, brother.
You're so used to going, my name's Jonathan and I'm a soccer player, right? And I play for Orlando City, right? Or my name's Jonathan, I play for USF or whatever it was, right? And now you're going, my name's Jonathan, I'm just an average human being, right? So I love what you're doing now with NLT, and I saw where you started. Yeah. That grind, right? Where you're waking up early, getting out to the facility, setting up. I want to tell us what you're doing now. But first talk about the struggle with the transition.
Yeah, no, man, the moment you stop playing and you get into the real world, I would call it as a midlife crisis, man. Midlife crisis.
Quarter life. Let's hope you live longer than
that. But man, brother, it was a shock to the system. Honest truth, it was a shock, because you have to think about it. For so many years in our life, we were structured.
Right.
We were told where to be, how to be,
right.
What to eat, what not to eat.
Yeah.
We had to do this. We had goals. We had everything already set for us.
Yeah.
And then all we had to do was put our part, which was the playing part.
Right.
So then you get out of that, and then now it's like, oh, no one's there to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
No one's there to guide you. Now it's like you have to be, this is the best way to describe it, or to explain it. You have to be self-driven.
Right. You
have to be self-driven once you finish playing, because if you're not, it's difficult to create a structure for yourself, and it's difficult to kind of, like you said, find your identity outside of it.
Bro, was there ever anybody that you leaned on for like guidance, support of like, yo, how'd you even know you wanted to do that?
Honest truth, my friends. My friends that I'm still very close with. So basically I'll give you what happened exactly.
Yeah.
Once I finished playing, I got a job at Amazon. I got a job at Amazon because the money's not coming in, so I got bills I have to pay, right?
Right.
So I got into Amazon, and that's when I realized I can't do this normal work life that everybody does. My body, my mind wasn't for it.
Yeah.
So training with a bunch of friends still on the side, just having fun. They were like, "Hey man, why don't you get into coaching? Well, why don't you get into private coaching?" And at the beginning, I kind of like brushed it off and didn't really think about it too much.
Yeah.
And then as time kind of went on, I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, let me just at least do it as a hobby. So it started off as a hobby.
Ooh.
All this started off as a hobby.
So it wasn't like, I'm going to do this to make money.
It wasn't as a crazy business. It was just like my friends kind of gave me the idea to want to do it. Right. And then I was like, let me just take on 2-3 kids.
Right.
I took on 2-3 kids. And then once I saw what it gave, is where I kind of really was like, wow, this might be something I want to do. And when I say what it gave, I'm talking about the impact on the kids. Seeing them come in, brother, and their faces change. Seeing them leave.
Yeah.
And like you can see when they're having a rough day, right? Yeah. You see whether they had a rough day at school or at home, or they come down, they're dragging their feet. Then they leave super happy, man. Yeah. That fulfillment is unmatched. So then when I started to feel that and see that, I was like, okay, there's a different, like, there could be a different purpose for me now.
Right.
I can be more of an inspiration now. I can really find myself outside of soccer due to the experiences that I had.
It's a very fulfilling experience, which is hard for people.
Yeah.
Bro, people go their whole lives. They retire at 65 and like, I feel unfulfilled. What am I going to do?
Exactly.
And for you to find that at a young age, but also like persevere? Because I'm sure you weren't making great money in the beginning.
No, Gabe. I would work. I would run sessions I would wake up every day almost at like 4. I would go do my due diligence, the gym, all that great stuff, and then I would start from the fields from like 7 a.m. until I would take a mini break in between the day until like about maybe like 7 p.m. So I was going 12, 13 hours at the fields. And at that time, at the beginning, I wasn't really charging. I wasn't charging many people. I would let people train for free. If someone had a friend, hey, just bring him out, you know, because at the end of the day, I was doing it because I liked it.
Right.
And I loved it. It was really, really, really fun. You know what I mean? It was something that I did. And I did that for about, I would say a good 6 months where like I was making maybe like $100 a week, brother.
Bro, $100
$150 a week. And then that turned into a little bit more, and that turned into a little bit more. But again, it was never for the money. It was just simply because I was enjoying it, man.
Right.
And there wasn't anything outside of that I would have thought that I would want to go do,
Yeah.
It was a grind, man. It was 100% a grind.
And you grew this company now to a 6-figure company.
Yeah, thanks to the Lord, and
Which
thanks
is,
to
bro, that's a great accomplishment.
Thanks to the Lord.
Doing what you love.
Yeah, man. And to be fair, I have a great support system around me. So like the staff that works with me, it's phenomenal, man. They've been like, I have a guy, my right hand man, Santi. Shout out Santi. He's been with me since those grinding days, since the no money days, since the we're doing this for free. This
bro,
is
those
just
are the
love.
people you hold with you to the end.
And
bro,
he told me, but he told me from
ever
since we started, he said, man, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And
I love that.
And then obviously he was doing his stuff on the side, right?
Of course, yeah.
But like now, for example, now he's full time with me.
That's amazing.
So now he's been able to let go of all the side stuff, and now all he focuses on is on the teaching, on the inspiring the kids. And it's been a great journey, man. It's been phenomenal, brother.
And it wasn't always did people talk shit when you first started?
People talk shit from the beginning until now. The shit talking is never gonna go.
What's something that kind of stuck with you? And you don't have to say who it was, but maybe somebody said something that you're like,
it wasn't necessarily, I guess you can say what they said, but the actions that would be taken around. So like, for example, I was doing a bunch of training in the area, and I guess you can tell that other people started to notice that what I was doing was impactful. So then you can tell that some of the clubs around were getting a little bit like threatened. So then there it goes back to the fact where now I can't rent fields. Why can't I rent fields? Oh, because this person is calling this person, not allowing me to do this.
Wow.
Why can't I train here on this free community park? Oh, because of this reason, So
and then how'd you divert from that though?
Well, brother, you got to shut out the noise, right? You shut out the noise, and if it doesn't work here, you go here.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't work here, you try here. You know? So then just kind of bouncing around and seeing who would open that door for you.
Yeah.
Until someone did open the door, and then that's when you kind of took the opportunity,
What would you say is the biggest struggle for a youth player today navigating this whole system, right? Going through private trainings, because I think at the youth level, you have to do private trainings in order to excel to where you want to go if they want to go pro.
Now the way the structure is, back then I don't think so too much, but now everybody's doing it, right? So then you can tell those guys that are doing it are at a different level because they're getting not only tips, but they're getting, you have guys that maybe played in the Prem already, right? Guys that played in the Premier League, and they're giving them tips. So then now those kids have experiences that other kids don't have. So now I think it's essential. Like if you're not doing something that's like tailored towards your weaknesses, it'll be hard to catch up to the other kids that are doing it. 100%.
Dude, I love that. I love what you're doing now, especially for the youth system. Everything is very complicated per se, right? Developing and navigating the youth system.
Yeah, man. Back in the day, it was simple. You had the development academy. All the ballers played in this place, and that's it. So you played against the elite players in this league, and that's it. But now with all these tiers, and to be fair, I'm not in the club coaching, right? I don't do it to travel team coaching. I just do the training side for it. So all the information that the parents tell me and like the players tell me is kind of like where I kind of understood where the system is at. And man, there's like, I think like 12 leagues now. There's like 12, 13 leagues. So you don't know what the cream of the crop is anymore. You don't know which players are playing where they need to be. You know?
Right.
And it's a difficult system now. I don't really understand it as much as
it's tough. It's always changing.
It's always changing.
Bro, we see a lot of different training programs, private coaching, things like that. I see that everywhere, right? Why is NLT so much more successful than all the other ones that are out there?
Man, and it's simple. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's very simple. It's one of the core values that I started with at the beginning, and it's one of the core values that I make sure anybody that works with me has, and it's the ability to build a relationship with the player. So you have I know a lot of people that do coaching, right? And they do it just to do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very general statement that people might overlook. Like even the audience, like, oh, build the relationship with the player. Of course,
I'll explain. Yeah. So like for example, like I've seen other people do it, right? And they may be let's say I'll give a good example. Session starts at 8. They'll show up 7:50. to set up, whereas like as for us and what we do, we show up 7:30, 30 minutes before. We make sure the field is set up properly for the player to come in. As he comes in, you start to chat with him. You start to ask him, how was your day at school?
Right.
How are you feeling? How are your legs? How's everything at home? You really connect with them, and on a very different level, where it's just, hey, today you're going to be doing this.
Right.
You're going to be doing V's and L's. You're going to be doing scanning and turning. You're going to be, no, it's let's figure this out. Let's connect. This is what I tell the kids.
Yeah.
I'm your coach, but you need to talk to me like if I'm your friend.
Yeah.
You need to express to yourself to me like if I'm your friend, because that's I need your raw version to be able to really help you. Because you got to think about it. When we were kids, we weren't going to tell our coaches all the stuff that were going on or what we felt, or maybe like the insecurities we had on the field.
Yeah, not at all.
So I make sure that our relationships with the kids are that.
Gotcha.
They tell us the insecurities they have. They tell us the things that are holding them back.
Part-time therapist, part-time coach.
Hey man, no, yeah,
and it works.
No,
I say that jokingly, but that's
basically So then you help the man on the footballing side, on the lifing side, you give them life advice, and that's kind of what drives them back, because they you got to remember, they like, wow, man, I want to go back to that coach that made me feel that way.
So what advice would you give? Let's say I have a 14-year-old son.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about the youth system. How do I help navigate my son? I want to make sure this kid's on a good team and he wants to go pro, right? That's his dream.
Yeah.
How do I help him and guide him through that if I don't know anything about it, right? It's so confusing.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think that for any youth player that is at that age, 13, 14, 15, you know how it is. That's basically the jump now, right? That's the jump where the guys that are going to play and the guys aren't going to play.
Yeah.
I would say is the exposure part of it.
Getting exposed to
if you're not playing in a league, in a team that is playing against the best players, where you have college scouts, national team scouts, professional scouts, and the exposure's not there, then I think is a good time to reflect and be like, okay, why am I not there?
Yeah.
Why am I not at that level yet? Or why am I not getting this exposure? So then that's where you really kind of like, that's the difference, man. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference, because you can have a baller, a 14-year-old baller, right?
Yeah.
And let's say he's still playing club soccer in the local league, in the local places, he'll fall through the cracks.
Right.
If no one helps him get out of there, right? If no one goes, recruits him, like, hey, you shouldn't be here. Let's go. Come this way.
Big fish, small pond.
Exactly.
Kind of concept,
point.
right?
Yep, exactly my point. So I think that's the biggest thing if you're at that age and you're trying to really take that next step, is you have to really see, am I getting exposure? You know? Am I getting looked at? Am I getting these opportunities that I should be getting?
Right. Bro, I want to cut to a quick segment of the show that
let's do it. Yeah, for sure.
It's called Corner of Controversy. It's in there. We have a couple controversial topics within the football soccer world.
Yeah, for sure, man.
You're gonna randomly pick and you hand it to me.
Okay.
And I'll read it and I'll get your opinion. So pick one.
Just one?
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, mix it up.
Let's see. I give it to you, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
All right, let's see. All right, what do we have?
Corner of Controversy.
Ooh, this one's fire. Is the MLS just a retirement league? What's your opinion on that? Do you think the MLS is actually growing the league or just cashing out by bringing in these retirees?
Well, honestly, it's gone a lot better. The MLS has gone a lot better, technically wise, right? Because if you go back 10, 15 years from now, it's very different, right?
Right.
Now you can tell there's a lot more technical players in the MLS. Would I call it a retirement league?
Yeah, let's go. You have to say yes or no.
Yes and no, though. Yes and no, because you do have players that come here to retire.
That is true.
But then you have also players that start their career here.
Yeah. And
then they leave and they go and they become stars,
I would say you can agree or disagree with me. I think 5 years ago, yes.
Yes, 1,000%.
Right?
Correct.
Now we have players that are coming out of the academy leagues or whatever league the MLS decides to create for these youth programs now, but they're playing maybe a few years in the MLS and then they're going overseas.
Exactly.
Facundo Torres, he was here at Orlando City. He's 24. Now he's at Palmeiras in Brazil.
Exactly my point. Yep.
And I think the first player that really highlighted that was maybe Miguel Almiron.
Yes.
He was at
Atlanta.
He was at Atlanta, balled out, and then went to Newcastle, right? That was kind of, at least for me, that was kind of first I was like, oh, he's young. He went overseas. A different path, whereas most people come here to retire.
Correct. No, yeah. So the way you said it is perfect.
Yeah.
5 years ago, 100%.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of see that, okay, you have some ballers here and they're going elsewhere. They're going elsewhere. They're getting maybe different looks. So it's yes and no, man. Yes and no.
So let's say you're growing up in the United States, your goal is to go pro. I remember when I was growing up, the goal was, I didn't even know anything about the U.S. development system, but the goal was play overseas and go pro there, right? That was a lot of what the youth sentiment was, because there just wasn't a real pathway. Would you say that's still, if you're a youth player in today's age, obviously you'd love to go overseas, but would you say there's more paths to go pro at the youth level nowadays than there was 10 years ago?
Oh yes, 100%. And I can tell you why. Like, so I'll give you a good example. When I was exposed to elite football at the age of about 13, 14. Yeah. Now all the kids I coach, they're already 9, 10. They're already at the academy level, or they already built an academy at that age, you know. Right. And then back in the day, it wasn't like that. Back in the day, you had to be a little bit older, 15, 16, before you took that jump, you know. Yeah. So now 100%, the youth level now is good. I think it's good. The youth level now, they're taking a lot of young players. They're exposing them overseas. They're to the academies over there. Borussia Dortmund, all of those clubs have taken a lot of American players, man. They've taken a lot of American players, and then some of them playing the Champions League now and all that good stuff. So it's good. It's different. Because that wasn't like that different. 10 years ago. You didn't see an American playing in the Champions League.
No, not at all.
A while back. You know, you didn't see that much. Or if you saw an American playing in Europe, you were like, wow. Yeah. You know, but now it's like, you can say the youth, that's what they strive for, because they know it's attainable now. Yeah. It's very attainable now.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I appreciate your opinion. I was going to say, we're going to start to close it out, but is there, like I said, any piece, like I said, of advice you want to leave for that youth player that's kind of climbing up the rankings? And also, so 2-part question. Yeah. Let's start there. Any advice you would give to a youth player?
Yeah, man, I would definitely say take advantage of as much exposure and experiences as you can, because all the experiences that you get at a young age is what brings you to that level when you're older. You know, if you're exposed to this at a young age, then when you deal with it in an older age, you've already been through it. So it's an easier transition. It's an easier process. So my advice would be, if you're a youth player, man, go to as many games as you can, play as many games as you can, trial with as many clubs as you can, fail as much as you can, get cut as much as you can. Don't start. Go do private training.
Fail forward.
Do all of that as much as you can. So then when you get to that point in your life where it's like, okay, I'm signing this contract now, or I'm about to, you know what you're getting yourself into.
We see it all the time, bro. The guys that are still playing at a higher level that we played with, they just stuck with it.
They stuck with it.
At some point had a breakthrough. The second part of the question, which we'll wrap it up here. Yeah. Talk to somebody that's just retired from, hung up their boots, and they don't know what to do next, right? They know they want to maybe stick within the game or maybe not, right? What advice would you give so they can help deal with the identity crisis?
Man, I would say 100% to just think about what the game has given you. Think about what do I mean by that? So like, you've been competitive your whole life, right? You've been working in leadership, in teamwork, in relations, right, with people.
The intangibles,
right? like and you break through certain barriers that maybe not the regular person does, right? Maybe, you know, when you do fitness, when you do hard sessions, you know, where you push that barrier. Yeah. Think of all of those experiences that you've had with that, and what the game has given you, and how you can translate that, because at the end of the day, that's who you are. Right. You're always going to be the footballer. Right. You're always going to be the soccer player. Now is, how do I apply this to the real world? Right. How do I apply these values, these morals, these things that I've learned my whole life? Because you can't just let those things go, right? Right. That's what you've built your whole life on. Yeah. How do I apply that to the real world now? How do I apply it in business? How do I apply it in relationships with people outside, right? Yeah. Can I be a leader in the team? Can I own my own business now, right? Those little details, I would say, really, really think about the stuff that you've been able to take away from the game. Because that's definitely what I did.
Bro, I'm like I said earlier on the podcast, I'm super excited to see where NLT is gonna be 3 to 5 years from now.
Thank you, brother.
Bro, because you were building this from scratch. Remember, you asked me, like small business advice, like small things like that, like taxes, right? These are things that you don't think about.
No, man.
And as you're building out a company, you know, you're at that 6-figure mark, and it's awesome to see, bro. I'm super excited. Man. And where can people reach you, right? If they're trying to start something similar in another state or something like that? Because if you're starting in Orlando, don't do it here. But where can they reach out to you?
No, man, shoot me a text, shoot me a DM through Instagram. I'm always on Instagram. Shout out at NLT Soccer. Go ahead and you guys shoot me a message, and I'm open to talk to anybody, man. Yeah. Give advice to anybody, because it's not an easy journey, man. Like, I know a lot of guys that have done it and they quit after a year. They quit after a year and a half.
But you kept going.
Yeah, and to be fair, the only difference is I stayed consistent.
Yep.
The only difference is I stuck through it, you know.
100%.
And then at the end of the day, you reap the rewards of what you stick through.
Right. Bro, I'm excited, and I want to appreciate you taking the time today.
No, of course. Thank you guys for having me, man.
We'll wrap it up. This is The Path Unfiltered. Thank you. Go.
Yo, not too bad though. Not too bad. Yeah.